Are you ready to create riches in your work and life? It's time for Shedding the Bitch Radio and TV, where you can discuss, debate, and get advice on how to discover and shed the bitches of fear, insecurity, self-doubt, and negativity, so you can realize your dreams and life purpose and create and accelerate the riches in life you deserve. So let's welcome your ball of fire host, Bernadette Bose.
Good day, good day, good day, everyone, and welcome to Shedding the Bitch Radio. And yes, indeed, I'm Bernadette Bose. And I am so pumped about today's conversation. You know why? Because it's all about blending intuition and your calling. And you know I love that, especially intuition and then going and finding your calling if you don't already know it. So our guest, Jenny Fenig, I'll introduce her in just a minute. It's going to be fabulous. So just get prepared and even grab a notepad if you want to, unless you're on the road and you're listening to us, or you're on Shedding the Bitch TV and you're watching us. It's going to be a powerful and fun conversation. But first, let me thank our sponsor, our long-term sponsor, North Georgia Tax Solutions. Debbie Smelling and her team are just awesome at providing you full service financial and tax services to small and corporate sized clients all around the country, not just North Georgia. And, contact her, let her know that I sent you, and she will be able to handle your personal and your business needs in any aspect of finance and taxes. You can go to ngtaxsolutions.com, tell her I said hello, and be sure to engage with her because she and her team are just absolutely awesome. I also want to thank our new and long-term Shedding the Bitch listeners and viewers. You are liking, sharing, subscribing, rating, reviewing, commenting, and you're providing us great input on topics and guests, just like today's. So continue doing that so we can get more eyes and ears on those women around the world who would love to create more riches in their work and life. But thank you so much. We absolutely love you. We couldn't do this without you. And we look forward to just bringing you more and more great content, great experts, and great dialogue, even debate sometimes. And today's conversation, I don't think there'll be much debate because who doesn't want to connect their intuition with their calling? All right. So what we are going to talk about is if you are at a crossroad, feel like something else is out there for you, but not sure what it is or how to find it. You'll love this episode. After losing her sister to brain cancer while in high school, Jenny Fenig found herself in a dark place. For a long time afterwards, she didn't allow herself to grieve properly and didn't let herself be truly alone with her thoughts and her grief. But once she did, she understood the power and importance of her intuition. This became even more important once she started navigating a massive career transition that would have her quit a six-figure corporate job to become an entrepreneur who has now coached thousands of women to honor and cash in on their calling. Oh, love it, love it, love it. All right. So what we want you to be listening for today is how to get still and quiet in a world that's fast and loud, isn't it? How to know what your calling truly is. If that you have that banging inside you, frustration, just like, ooh, there's something more there. We're going to talk about it. And then how to do less and accomplish more. So for Jenny and for those of you who are new to the program, I kick off the program with this discussion with a rich question. A rich question is something that will ground you in our conversation, that will allow you to be thinking about how does this subject, tie to me, link to me? How is it relevant? Because oftentimes you'll get on our programs and we love it. And you're like, well, this topic really, I'll just listen, but it's really not where I am. Yes, it is. Most definitely it is, especially today's conversation. So I want to give you a rich question that you can be thinking about that our guests, I'm sure, will address. And if not, you can always ask questions and post them along with our, whether it's our podcast broadcast or our fumbling today, or our TV broadcast on Shedding the Bitch TV on YouTube. And I will make sure Jenny gets those comments and questions so she can respond to you directly. All right. And you'll get tons of contact information for her. But the rich question I want you to be thinking about is, what is your true calling? Now, that may seem big to you, but if you're coming up empty, that's why you need to listen. If you're coming up like, I'm not sure, that's why you need to listen. If you're coming up with, yeah, I know what my calling is, but are you tying it with your intuition? That's what you need to listen for. Okay. So let me introduce our guest. Jenny Fenig helps you embody your message, help more people, and make awesome money in your online business. She loves empowering you to become an energy queen as you feel good and do good. Jenny is passionate about teaching women coaches, consultants, creatives, and wellness professionals to raise their voice and amplify their results by doing less. Her transformational training programs focus on a number of hot topics like building an intuitive coaching business, becoming a powerful speaker, and mastering time. She is the host of the podcast and YouTube show, Coach Magic. Love it. Author of Get Gutsy, and was named a Silver Stevie Award winner for Coach of the Year. Prior to becoming a business owner, Jenny was a public relations executive and event producer, elevating the visibility and message of the biggest brands and thought leaders in the world. She lives in the woods with her family in the Berkshires of Massachusetts. Welcome to the program, Jenny.
Thank you so much, Bernadette. I'm thrilled to be with you and everyone today.
Yeah, thank you so much. What a bio, what a profile, what a background. It immediately elevates and immediately gets you excited, and immediately wants to call in, okay, what is my calling? What is that all about? But first, before we get to that, just tell us a little bit about you. Help us to get to know, who Jenny is. We do know that you live in the Berkshires of Massachusetts, but what else goes on in your world?
Oh, so much, so much. Well, I'm a wife. I'm a mom of 3 school-age children. We have lots of animals who live with us too. I'm a homeschooling mom. I think that's an interesting tidbit to throw in there. And I was doing this pre-COVID, which definitely helped when COVID came on the scene. I wasn't so shocked by, oh my gosh, my kids are learning, at home now. And that was something that never I thought I would be doing, but that definitely ties into the intuition piece in your calling, because now I'm so grateful to have this opportunity to have these experiences with my kids. And it's so connected to the work that I do. You explained what I do as a coach and lots of programs, and, I do a lot of speaking, but, I've always been someone who was into work. I love school. Before, I could have a job, I had school, and school was like my job. And so I enjoyed learning. I loved connecting with classmates. I enjoyed working on projects and just doing my best and really figuring out what my potential was and meeting it, really meeting my potential. And I think that's how I've designed my life. And so I love having time to live life. And I think that experience that I had as a teenager that you shared, when my sister died, I was 16 and she was 12. That really set me on this path of you get one life. You don't know when it's going to end. That is the ultimate mystery for everyone. I mean, today could be our last day. It could be 50 years from now. I mean, who knows? Right. And so within that question, within that mystery, my intent is to really enjoy each day, even the hard ones, even the ones that break your heart. And there's so many hard things that are going on in the world right now, not only in the United States, but everywhere. And there's times when you can go, well, what's the point? Everything's just bad, or there's just so many horrible, unfair, unjust things that are going on. And that can easily pull you under. But my whole thing is, if we're still alive, then we have a mission to complete. We have an assignment, and we need to stay focused on the assignment. And our intuition helps inform us. It helps us that next right step. So
Sure.
that's really what I'm all about. I'm super into taking good care of myself, as you mentioned. I love exercising. I love being outside in nature. I love really appreciating each season that I'm blessed to experience.
Wow. Well, I am so sorry for your loss, especially at that such tender age. But wow, what a blessing and what you took from it and what you've done with it. Excuse me. And that's just beautiful, heartbreaking, but at the same time, beautiful. Thank you for being so open and sharing that with us. So, excuse me.
I hear you.
So can you share with us what your transition was like? You know, there's many people out there that are now entrepreneurs, but they were once corporate executives or corporate professionals. What was your journey like transitioning from your corporate high profile executive career to being an entrepreneur?
Yeah, it was definitely with lots of twists and turns and confusion. And am I doing this? What is this? Am I allowed to do this? I mean, I didn't know that I was going to be an entrepreneur. When I look back on my life, I was very entrepreneurial without realizing that that's what that was. I was, you know, very much a self-starter, and I loved creating things. I loved, you know, being a part of really interesting experiences and just going for it. But I was driven by my love at the time of public relations. That's what I studied in school, and I loved it. When I found it, because I didn't know what I wanted to quote be when I grew up. And I think a lot of people go through that, and there's a lot of people who are still in that. There's definitely a lot of young people who are in that. I talk to a lot of, you know, younger kids who are in high school or in college, like, I don't know the thing that I want to do yet. And I'm like, it's okay. You're going to figure it out. You're absolutely going to figure it out. So I basically, you know, pursued a career in public relations, living in New York City. And it was incredible. I met so many amazing people. I worked on big projects. I traveled the world. And yet there was something inside of me that was missing. Like, there was just something that didn't feel right. I didn't think that I'd be able to do this for my whole life. And I'm the type that I want to work. I enjoy it. I don't want to work all the time. I don't want to not have any free time, but I do want to have work that I care about. So I eventually found my way out of that job and into a whole new realm that I didn't even know was a thing, which is conference production, which you all heard when I was introduced. So my job was to put on these big business conferences and to do research and recruit speakers and oversee the entire experience for the attendees. And it was incredible. I met amazing people. I had budget to book huge names that you know, like Tony Robbins, former Secretary of State Colin Powell, Malcolm Gladwell. Many of you have read his books. I mean, the list goes on. And I got to see these people on the stage, you know, sharing their stories, sharing their message, which has deeply impacted me just as a human, but certainly in how I deliver my message now. It was like I got to get, you know, an MBA or graduate degree in how to command a stage, you know, how to connect with an audience. It was very, very powerful. And it also taught me how to think like an entrepreneur, because in that particular job, I received a cut of the profits of my event.
Nice.
And I never had experienced that before. It was amazing.
Nice.
And that's the first time that I really started getting like big chunks of money. Wow. Look at this check. Look at that check. Look at that check. But yet that intuition piece that we're really talking a lot about today, there was that voice inside that said, this is great, Jenny. You're achieving something. You're making money that you deserve to make because you're adding value to the world, and you can, you know, do the things that you want to do. You can buy this. You can live in this apartment that you want to live in with your husband. You can go on trips. But that voice inside said, and this isn't it for you. This is not it for you. And I couldn't ignore that. Here's the deal, y'all. You're going to try to ignore that voice because it's more convenient to ignore it than to listen to it. Because when you listen to it, that means you're going to need to make change. That means you're going to need to, you know, change something, quit something, do this thing differently, resign from this, double down on that. Maybe you're going to need to move. Maybe you're going to need to change your relationship, whatever. And it's not easy. So I'm not going to say that it's easy, but over time, you'll realize that you cannot outrun the voice. You cannot outrun the voice. You will try to numb out. You will try to, you know, engage in isms like shopaholism, drinking too much, working too much, surfing the internet too much, like whatever. But then you'll realize you cannot outrun that voice. And
but
so,
let me ask you a question though, in regards to the voice.
Yeah.
In regards to intuition, because it can come across in various ways for different people. What should people be paying attention to? Because I know a lot of women who will say, oh, well, I really don't have good intuition. I'm like, yes, you do. You might not just be paying attention to it. So what have you found? And what would you suggest that they pay attention to? Because their body, their spirit, their soul are talking to them.
Totally. Well, everyone can experience this differently. I mean, some of us are clairvoyant, some of us are clairaudient, clairsentient. You might feel things, you might hear things, you might just visualize things. And so pay attention. It's really just pay attention. You need to develop a very deep, loving, trusting relationship with your own being, with your own body. And the more that we can take care of ourselves by being very intentional about what we consume, what we put inside of ourselves, then the clearer that signal becomes. And then you're able to see it and hear it and feel it for what it is. And so it might be that someone keeps mentioning this book to you. It's like 3 different people have mentioned this book, or 5 different people have mentioned this particular program that they were a part of, or course that they were in, or so many people have just mentioned this town. And you're like, I've been thinking about that place. And so notice that, really start noticing patterns. I think that's one of my great gifts, is to be a pattern spotter. And so I do this with clients, and I'll do this for myself. There is a pattern here. Something is coming up over and over again, and there's a reason. And so maybe you just go down and you research it a bit more, or you actually just go. You're like, you know what? I'm just going to trust it, and I'm going to go. I'm going to go. I'm going to visit that place, or I'm going to go to that website and just tune in. And then here's the deal: is then we have to make a decision. We have to make a call. And so for me, all those years ago, when you would ask, like, how did I make that transition? Well, I had thought about for years quitting my job. The message was there, the intuition was there, the feeling was there, that I got to the point where I knew that I had learned everything I was meant to learn in that particular environment. And even though that particular place, I had received a promotion towards the end and more money and all that stuff. And I tried to be like, well, maybe that's just going to be the thing to get me over that edge. I knew, like, the intuition again was, the things that you don't like about this are not going away. It's either change your opinion about that or go. And so which I don't recommend for a lot of people unless you're in a pretty unique situation, but I literally quit one day without another job lined up, without a plan of like, now I'm going to be a coach and I've got a website and I've got clients already. I didn't know any of that. I just said, I've got to clear the decks because I literally cannot do this anymore. And I had some runway, I had some money saved. I trusted myself enough. I was married at that time, and my husband was very supportive of, Jenny, you're going to figure it out. And so I did. And that space that I created was essential. And so within the space, I just kept taking the next right step, listening for clues, and then acting on the clue. And I feel like that's what some women don't do. They're not willing to do, is they see the clues. It's right there in front of them. The thing that they wished for, prayed for, wanted. It's like, okay, it's here. But then they go, oh, me? Are you sure? This is it? I don't know. And then we start backpedaling and coming up with excuses for why we don't deserve it, or why it's not the right time, or why we can't afford it, or why blah, 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 blah. And so, I'm just a fan of going for it. Like that's me. And again, I think my life and those experiences that I've had, especially starting as a young, that teenager, and PS as an aside, I experienced 3 deaths of 3 people very close to me within 3 years. So between 16 and 19, I had 3 deaths. And so that very much shapes me. I mean, that death is traumatic.
That's what I wanted to know. Yeah.
It just is. And so my whole thing is like, we're all going to die. That some people won't admit it. They're like, no, Yes, you are. You are so going to die. We are all going to die. No one is getting out of here alive. So what are you going to do between now and then? What are you going to do between now and then? How are you going to live your life so that you don't have any regrets, so that you don't look back and go, I wonder what would have happened if.
And you did that as a teenager?
Well, what's that?
You did that. Did you have that realization as a teenager after those losses?
I don't think so. No, it was through a lot of introspection. It was through a lot of therapy. Okay. A lot of reading incredible books, talking to people, finding my way. As you mentioned, I didn't let myself feel any of that grief.
Right.
Really like take a break.
Right.
You know, some people are petrified to take a break. And so I felt like even when I quit that job, which was scary to do because, again, I was making more money than I ever thought I would make. I just needed to take that break. I needed to take that break. Breaks, I feel, are super powerful.
Yep.
Sabbaticals, you know, gap years, things like that, however long it needs to be, because it just gives you some space and perspective.
Right.
So no, it took me several years of finding my way and realizing what grief is, and giving myself space to feel things, and knowing that feeling hard stuff wouldn't destroy me. And what would actually destroy me was not being willing to feel those things, not being willing to admit that I was hurt, not being willing to admit that I needed help. And, you know, so since then, it's really been a process of learning how to mother myself, learning how to listen to myself, and learning how to give myself permission to trust my desires, trust that things can be good, trust that I don't need to worry that the other shoe is going to drop, you know, just really looking at some of those messages and the ways that we've been conditioned to kind of live a mediocre life. I'm just not interested in that.
Yeah. And does your work include kind of transferring that over to your clients to say, okay, look, you know, let's take some time. Let's like really look at these things and, you know, see what we can glean from them. And so does your work, you know, really hit on the mindset and the, you know, getting connected with themselves in order for them to then be able to be visible and, you know, raise their voice and that kind of thing?
Absolutely. Yeah. Because so much of this is, I mean, it's really an inside job. You've got to know who you are and be willing to get in there and to know that some of it is very uncomfortable. It can feel scary. It can feel like, oh my gosh, I've never touched this before. I put it in a room and I've closed the door and we've locked it and I threw the key someplace that I couldn't get it. So yeah, that's a piece of what I do as a coach, and really as an intuitive business coach in particular, is to help my clients access that voice within that is going to guide your way on if you allow it to. So we spend a lot of time. I'm a big writer and communicator, so a lot of my work is helping my clients like pick up a pen and write some stuff out. Pen, not even, I mean, you can type it too, but I'm a big believer.
Me too.
There's something that happens physically. It's like very tactile.
I agree.
Yes, when you move. So we do a lot of writing. We do a lot of using our voice and putting it out there and feeling brave in a community of women leaders who are doing it too, who are doing the work too. And I think that's an important message for women to receive, because some of us might have had experiences with women who weren't supportive and who weren't kind. And we might have had, you know, negative memories of people who weren't, you know, just weren't for us. And a lot of it, we realized it's not about us. It was about that person and what they were going through. And so a lot of forgiveness work is required as well. But when you realize that you can surround yourself and be intentional about surrounding yourself with people who are pulling for you, who are cheering for you, who are in your corner and want to see you succeed and will be celebrating you with every step of the way. That's a big piece of this work as well.
I love it. Love it. Love it. And with a lot of that work, especially when we're really, you know, I call it excavating your soul. A lot of it also has to do with, you know, really understanding the difference between your inner voice and your inner critic. Can you touch on that? Because you talk a lot about that.
Yeah. And this is what, when I wrote my book all those years ago, feels like lifetimes ago now. See, I remember just the process of writing that. And I do feel it was an excavation process. So I like that word and that visual quite a bit. So the inner voice is that benevolent, kind force who is encouraging you. That inner voice believes in you. That inner voice is patient with you, is loving, and is on your side, and can speak to you in the language that you can receive, And the inner critic is really about breaking you down. The inner critic is telling you, in essence, that you are not good enough. The inner critic wants to keep you, quote, safe. And so the inner critic doesn't want you to grow. It doesn't want you to change. It doesn't want you to try this new thing, even though that thing is really aligned with your highest and best good. The inner critic is saying to you, don't do that. They're all going to laugh at you. You're going to make a fool out of yourself. This is not going to be good. And so you can start teasing out the differences in how those voices sound for you. And we all have this, like everyone will admit, if they're willing to admit, that they have these voices. Like we have the voice, we have, some people have multiple. The inner critic is like kind of, and what I've done with clients before is really have them visualize some kind of something physical, or maybe it's a person, like throughout somebody in their past or someone who's like a compilation of various people in their past, and they imagine that as their inner critic. Other people will come up with like physical items. When I went through this personally for myself, I realized mine was a hammer, and the hammer was essentially, knocking me down, like the, that game at the arcade where you're like whack-a-mole. And so the hammer's like, boom, boom, boom. No, stay down, stay down. Nope, you're coming up. Nope, down, 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 down. And what we can do is, again, realize that we all deal with this. We're all in this as humans. And so what we can do, instead of having that inner critic keep us down and keep you away from the things that you're really here to do and who you're here to be, you can reassign the inner critic. And so you say, instead of being that hammer to smash me down, because I don't need that, we're going to be changing the game here. I actually need someone to help me build. I need someone to help me build this business, help me build this mission, help me build this family, help me build this community, whatever it is that you all are building. And so that's how I shifted my relationship with my inner critic, was I gave it a new role to help me build, because I love building. Right. We can build new realities. We can build new worlds. We can build a new life, and we need that support. And so you all can really take charge of a situation that you realize this isn't working for you anymore.
Right.
You've outgrown it. You don't just have to accept it and just lay over and play dead. No, take control, step up and say, here's how things are going to be moving as we go forward.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. And that would have been a great question to ask, actually, as your rich question, everybody, is kind of think through, like, who is, or what does your inner critic look like right now? And then what could it look like to then work for you as opposed to work against you? Right. I absolutely love that. What you talked in your, in the bio and in your introduction about raising the voice, elevating, the almost like elevating their position out in the world. So what do you recommend women do to do that? When, and of course I got louder when I read that part.
Yeah.
And it's not volume that you're talking about. It's raising your voice I want to hear from you. How, what does that look like, and how can that serve the women that are listening and watching today? Yeah.
Well, sometimes for people it is volume, because they speak so low you can't hear them.
Oh, good point.
Really, you know what I mean? And so just to hop on that, sometimes you're like, I can't hear you. I can't hear you. And it might have been, again, the conditioning of you should just be seen and not heard. Some of you might have been told that as a child, and you're deconstructing that, you're reprogramming. Okay. So for those of you who do speak too softly and people can't hear you, then you do need to speak up, because it's a missed opportunity and you have something really important to say and powerful to say. So take up space, take up space and speak. Okay. Speak your truth. Say the things that you are here to say. And I feel like even when we have things to say that other people may not agree with, we can be very clear and confident in what we're here to say. And we can deliver it with kindness. We can deliver it with compassion. We can deliver it with clarity. But this whole idea of raising our voice is we are here to deliver some kind of a message. All right. Your unique life circumstances, your experiences that you've had, they have shaped you. You have learned things, you know things, and what you have to share based on your life and based on what you have found to work, what you have found to be effective, it can help people. It will help people, but you have to be willing to put it out there. You have to be willing to put it out there. And so raising your voice is trusting that there are people out there right now who need to hear what you have to say. And trusting that there will be people who will disagree with you. There will be people who don't like literally the way your voice sounds. They won't like the tone. They won't like the fact that you have an accent or whatever an accent is. So an accent to one person is not an accent to somebody else, right? They won't like that you use a certain word or don't use a certain word. And you know what? It doesn't matter. It does not.
Amen.
It just doesn't matter.
Yep.
So again, when you get to the end of your life, are you going to feel like, I did it. I said the thing that I was here to say. I put it in the form I wanted to put it in, whether it's writing a book, whether it's having your own radio show, whether it's having, getting on stages, virtual stages, in-person stages, whether it's having your business, whether it's working with people in your local community, whether it's my mother-in-law writes letters to the New York Times, letters to the editor. Okay. She has been published more than 30 times. She is, what is she now? Like 86? I want to say she's 86. She doesn't stop. She does not stop. So it's that whole thing. It can take many forms.
Right.
For me, I know I need to raise my voice on something and say something when my body just starts tingling. It's like, I know. Yeah. So again, that's where you listen to that intuition. You have something to contribute.
Right.
And my whole thing is be a contributor.
Right.
Be a contributor.
Right.
And if you have an idea, if you have a solution, to me, it's like, be a contributor, throw out ideas, throw out solutions instead of just complaints and, talking about stuff and kind of bitching about stuff. It's like, are you going to spend your time bitching about stuff and just looking at all the problems? Are you going to come forward with some solutions? Are you going to come forward with some ideas? Are you going to come forward with positive energy that can actually help make things better?
Well, and you probably see it every day, and I'd love to understand your experience, and I would love our viewers and listeners too as well, that they also want to raise their voice, but like bitches in our world are your fears, insecurities, doubts, and negativity. So, they want to raise their voice. They want to, disagree. They want to raise their hand. They want to get on that stage. And yet there's a lot of, fears holding them back. So, your programs touch on intuition, helping people find their calling, but I would expect that it's also to have them face all of that as well. Could you talk to that for us?
Oh yeah. I mean, so the main way that my business serves our clients are through group programs, like group coaching programs. And pretty much any program I've done through the last decade plus has touched on that, like it's basically how to rise above fear, rise above the inner critic, really look that in the face and say, thank you for your opinion. Thank you for your concern. I'm going to do this anyway. And so, yeah, this is so often the thing that holds women back is the stuff that goes on in between here. And yeah, there will be people out there who can be horrible to you and say certain things. But again, I have been an entrepreneur and, the face of this business and putting messages out there and photos out there and videos out there for so long. And there is a small percent of just, weird stuff that comes back, or like silly comments and stuff.
Right.
But the worst thing that could ever be said, like what happened between my own ears of like, don't send that email or don't reach out. It's like the things that just hold you back. And so everyone has to realize that about yourself. Like you've got to have your own program. You have to have your own process, your own, what I call knowing how to protect your energy and really focus on the highest and best uses of you. So we talk about that in all of my programs, really like what is like, whatever it is your goals right now, what can you be doing every single day to help you get there? Like, what is it that if you were to do these things today, you can show up in the areas that you need to show up for, whether it be as a parent, as a partner, as an employee, as a business owner, as a friend, as whatever. And because what a lot of people are doing these days is they're just squandering their time. They've just kind of, again, numbing out, scrolling on social, not taking care of themselves. I know this past, year plus has been very hard. And I say those things not to make anyone feel bad.
Right.
Simply go, yeah, we're living in a really freaking hard time. And it's to look at how have you been contributing to your own block? How have you been participating in the issue that you say that you have? If you know you want to have more energy, but you don't take time to move your body most days of the week, and you are able to do that, well, then that's on you. That's on you. There's ways for you to say, okay, I'm going to be getting up a little bit earlier, or instead of, mindlessly looking at the internet, I'm going to I have to catch myself on this too. Like this morning, I'm cozy on my couch with my dog. And I go, you know what? I know I show up better for my day. I'm talking to you. I have several other calls today. I know I'm going to be a better steward of this message and my own energy and taking care of my body when I have exercise. So I got on my Peloton bike. I did a cycling workout. I did arms. I stretched. I made sure I was fueled. And now I'm here. I could have just kept, kind of effing around, being like, whatevs, I have time. I go, no, I know what fuel I need to put into my body. Right. I know what fuel I need. I know this by now. And you all, you need to know this. You need to know there's really no excuse. Like you're not new. You didn't just get here. Right. So once you know, here's the thing, then you got to do it. Right. Then you've got to do it.
Right. But having you ask some of your clients, what works for them, what doesn't work for them. And they kind of go, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We cover, one of my programs is called Energy Queen. I led that.
I love that.
It was so fun. Yeah. I had a blast. Like even that name, actually, a lot of the names I come up, well, pretty much all of them come through my intuition. I'll get a download, I'll get a hit and I go, ooh. And that one just felt, it was awesome. Yeah. So with that particular program, it was really helping them. I mean, this is what I do in my work across the board is I can just look at material. And P.S. y'all, back up, when I first went to college, I thought I was going to be a high school English teacher. That's what I initially went to school for, to be a teacher. Okay. So I love teaching. Yes, I'm a coach, but I coach through my teaching. Does that make sense? So I break down ideas, I break down concepts. So within that particular program, for example, I would look at, okay, I don't care who I'm talking to, like what thing they do for work, if they're an entrepreneur, or they work in corporate, or they're a stay-at-home mom, whatever. Okay. So we can break down these different categories. So we have categories of your home, of sacred self-care, of work, of family, friends, and communities. Like we kind of look at these different, what I call buckets. Right. And then within the buckets, what I have people do is to say, what are your priorities? What are the things that give you energy, that give you fuel? Like when you do these things, you feel good. And so then we can just get really simplified here, go, okay, well, in the family, friends, and community bucket, I know I feel really good when I reach out and connect with a friend, at least X number of times a week or whatever. Like, for example, I had a great conversation with my former roommate of mine. We used to live in New York City and I hadn't talked to her in months. And do you know how much that fueled me? So way better than a text.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? And so I'm not saying we have
Absolutely.
like long conversations every single day, unless you know that about yourself. You need that and it just makes you feel good. Okay, then go do it.
Yep.
But you really identify what are those things that you do within those areas, within those core areas. Exercise is one for me within my work. When I connect with my community, when I create content, I feel so good. When I'm speaking, I feel so good. And then it also moves the needle. It's not just what feels good, but it also has an impact.
Right.
You get great results from it. And so then we really look at, I get great results from these things, and I'm, quote, doing less because I've let go of the things that I actually hate and that aren't effective. Okay. Because maybe it works for other people, but it's not for me.
Right. Right.
This is not my thing. You know, for instance, another thing that I let go of a few years ago that a lot of people still do, but I just realized that doesn't work for me. It actually gives me no energy. I feel like crap for a few days afterwards. And my body has sent me messages for years that this is like toxic to me, is drinking alcohol. I just let it go, why am I doing this?
I just did that myself. I just did that myself.
Congratulations.
Yes.
Yeah. Congrats. It's been 6 years for me. And yeah, it's been huge. And if you would have seen me in like high school and college, you'd be surprised.
Oh yeah. I was the funnel queen. So I'm like, you know, yeah.
I mean, I had a good time while I was having a good time until I realized like, I'm not having a good time anymore. Not know if I was having a good time back then, but you know what I mean? And so I'm really like, that whole thing about being an energy queen is something that I want all of us to take, like really take into your heart. Love because that. When you do that, your life changes.
Yes.
It just changes for the better. Some people will be pissed because you may not instantaneously respond to their text, or you might not answer your phone every time it rings, or you might not say yes to this thing that you used to say yes to because you realize you don't have space for that right now.
Right.
In order to focus on those core priorities, which you have identified, you cannot say yes to everything.
Yeah.
When you say yes to something, you're going to say no to something else. Okay. Right. And so always be clear on that. And that's, you know, it's just, that's a core piece of my message. And
that's
it's
awesome.
Something that, it's really a game changer.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. Love it. Love it. Now, obviously there's intuition, you know, connected with, someone's calling.
Yeah.
And one of those callings, because I'm very much interested in this, and I want my viewers and listeners to understand it too. Raising the voice, elevating their message, putting themselves out there. You also help people, and you mentioned that you're a speaker, and what a fabulous free MBA to be able to witness, you know, megastars like Tony Robbins and others. To really kind of hone in on how to tell a story and how to really command a stage. You also help individuals with their speaking. So you have something coming up too. I want to make sure that our viewers and listeners know about. Could you share?
Totally. Sure. And specifically what I've been focusing on is how to speak online. I mean, speaking in person is fabulous, but hey, we're living in this time when a lot of in-person things aren't happening or they're shifted. And so when you know how to speak online, I mean, you could do it every single day if you want to. And that's power. And it's incredible. So what happened for me was when the pandemic first became a thing here in the United States, that thing that I had been doing for a few years, which was homeschooling my kids while working, became a topic that a lot of people wanted some support with. And I was able to partner with an organization, and they brought me in as a speaker for their corporate clients, all about homeschooling and work balance. I delivered that topic so many times. Then I was delivering other topics on time mastery and self-care. It's like what we're talking about here. And that was in addition to what I was doing in my own core business with my clients, leading programs, etc. And then I just saw, oh my gosh, I do this all the time. I love this. I want more people to know how to do this because it will change your business, and it makes you feel like so expressed. And that's really what your calling is. Your calling is the thing that you came here to do. It's the grand assignment, and your intuition has been guiding you along. And let me tell you, your intuition, when it comes to speaking, your intuition is your greatest partner, because your intuition is dropping gems in, and it's helping you open your mouth and let the message flow through. And so I developed a program called Magnetic, and we're about to take a new group through. And I'd love for you all to check it out. If you know that you want to be able to deliver a message online through video, whether it's, a podcast, group calls, you want to speak on other people's stages, you want to feel confident when you go onto social media, you want to feel confident when you're in your meetings, and you don't want to feel like that deer in headlights, like, oh my gosh, the video is on me. And then you forget what you're here to say. Like, what we're teaching you in this program is really how to embody your essence, understand how to create a framework so you can get the message out. Some people are like, well, I don't know what I would talk about. I'm like, you have something right now that you would talk about. You're just not allowing yourself to claim it. And so we help you claim it, talk about how to organize your thoughts, how to provide something of value, leave behind, how to work with the media to amplify your message, and then how to get up and freaking do it. The best way to do something is to do it.
Absolutely.
Practice and do it. And to really know that we're not seeking perfection here. We're simply saying, are you willing to answer the call? Right. Are you willing to take a stand for something that you believe in? There are people out there right now who can be helped by you. Yes. And is that desire to serve and to help and to speak and to really put your voice out there, is that desire bigger than any fear or any doubt that you're not going to be good, or some people aren't going to like you, or you're going to fumble over your words sometimes? You just have to trust that call and follow the desire. So the program is called Magnetic, and you all can check it out. You see the link here on the screen, jennyfenig.com/magnetic.
I love it. I love it. And yes, our whole community is made up of women with very powerful messages, whether you believe it or not, people, ladies. Jenny can certainly help and convince you that you do, and then show you how to do it in such a powerful way. That is fantastic. Jenny, thank you so much for being part of the program. This has been awesome, because we all need to tap into our intuition, and we need to connect it with our calling. And if you don't know what your calling is, everyone, please reach out to Jenny in regards to even that. And therefore you can go to just jennyfenig.com and just learn about her, see the work that she's done, and how she can really transform your life as well.
Oh, thank you. And my book would be really good for those of you who are struggling with what am I supposed to do here? And Bernadette, that feeling is so hard. It's so hard to live with. I dealt with it for a lot of years. So anyone who's in that position, I just want to let you know, I've been there, and my heart goes out to you. And here's the deal. You don't have to stay there. You don't have to stay there. There's a way forward. And that's really, thank you so much for what you do, Bernadette, because that's really what it is to be a coach, is to help people see you can move forward.
Absolutely.
You don't have to do it alone.
And remember, her book's called Get Gutsy. Mm-hmm. So definitely, if you need guts, get gutsy.
That's right.
Thank you, Jenny. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'm so appreciative of you, and am thrilled that we had this opportunity to learn more about you and to actually grow and find what our calling is. I thank you. And everybody, please, if you want to amp up your voice, elevate your message, know what it takes to be a powerful speaker, jennyfenig.com/magnetic. Thank you so much, Jenny. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off there. And for everyone else, please know that we are here each and every week on both Shedding the Bitch TV on YouTube and Shedding the Bitch Radio on any one of your podcast services. And we are here to really bring you the experts and the topics that really help you to create the riches in your work and life that you deserve. All right. So we will look forward to having you back here next Tuesday at noon Eastern time for another episode of Shedding the Bitch Radio. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day. Bye.
Thank you for taking part in Shedding the Bitch Radio and TV with Bernadette Bose. We would love to know what your biggest takeaway was. Go to Shedding the Bitch on Facebook or YouTube and leave a comment. You can also subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts and YouTube so you don't miss a single episode of the show. And with your input, we can help other powerhouse women just like you find the show and decide if it's right for them. Learn more about Bernadette at balloffirecoaching.com